Okay, let's build the HoloWorld app from scratch. So what we're going to do is use the initialization tool that's inside HCDev. As you can see here, if you do HCDev and then put the name of the project in, it'll create you a new project. So let's go and fire up a new terminal. And if we go HCDev init HoloWorld, this will create us a new project. So let's fire up Atom and have a look at that code and see what it looks like. So if we go File, Open Demos, HoloWorld, because I've obviously done this a few times to get to this point. And what we got here is the output from doing init. Now there's a couple of things we need to change because it doesn't rename things, so I'm just going to rename a few folders and files so it makes a bit more sense. So we've got HoloWorld there. Now the entry JSON file is the structure of an entry that we're going to put in there, and we're going to call this a HoloWorld entry. And the HoloWorld zone, this is the DNA of what your app is actually going to do. HoloWorld zone. Right, so in the DNA JSON file, which is what tells Holochain how your app works, you need to rename a few things. So the name of our zone is HoloWorld, and it's all the functions are in a file called HoloWorld-Zone.js. We've got an entry that is called HoloWorld. And it's of format JSON, and the file for that is called HoloWorld entry. Right, and we've got a couple of functions. We're going to call them HoloWorld entry create. And what this function is going to do is add some information into Holochain and return a hash key. Then we want to be able to read that, so let's call that HoloWorld entry read. And we don't need this third function. Right. We're now going to do some tests, so we're not actually going to run any scenarios in this particular example, so I'll just get rid of that for clarity. And we'll call this test file, you guessed it, HoloWorld. And let's have a look in here. So we have a test file that is going to run against the Holochain backend using our DNA, and this is going to create a new HoloWorld entry. It's in the zone called HoloWorld. The function name is HoloWorld entry create. And we're going to input body and timestamp. That doesn't look right. Let's have a look at what the JSON file is supposed to be. So this is supposed to have content and timestamp. Oh, little error there. Let's call that content. Alright, so now when we put in this JSON file, it needs to be in this format. And Holochain will actually validate that for you. So let's go back to our test. We now have content and timestamp. And the output that we're going to check against is that it should be the first hash, or the very last, the last hash in the chain. And there's a little formatting issue here, so I'm just going to get rid of a few of these bits here. Right, and hash 1 will be the previous one, but we want the last one, so we'll call that H. That will give you the very last hash. Now if we go and run HCDev test against this folder, it will fail because the method HoloWorld entry create is not defined. Fantastic, because it's not. So let's go and define that. HoloWorld entry zone, and we're going to put our methods at the top here. So I'm just going to get that method from a previously done one. And we'll drop that in here. And first of all, we don't actually know what it's supposed to do, so red, green, refactor. First thing we need to do is get the method in there. So if we go and run that test, it now finds the method and it says, hang on, I wanted a hash and you've returned me null. Alright, so what's it supposed to do? It's actually supposed to return you a value. And what we're going to do here is commit is the method on the Holochain API. We're going to tag our entry with HoloWorld entry. We're going to put that JSON file into Holochain, and this will return the hash for that last entry. So if we run that test now, failed. Validation failed. All right. Now what that means is that we need to validate that what we're putting into Holochain passes whatever validation rules our app has. And in this very simple example, we're not going to actually do any validation, we're just going to return true. However, here is where you would do things like, is whatever going on in this app allowed to happen? Is it, if you're checking for size of entries or whatever you're doing, whatever's related to your app, you can do some validation here before it gets committed. So now if we go and run the test, it passes. That's because the entry that we put in there returns the hash that we're expecting. Alright, so that's all well and good to put things into Holochain. What about if we get things out? So let's do TBD. We're going to go and add another test now, which I'm just going to get out of my previous example. And here we go. Let's put this one. Let's have a look at this. Alright, so this is going to read a HoloWorld entry, same zone, new function. The input is going to be that last hash key on the chain, and we're expecting the output to be exactly what we put in. So you can see here that the output is the same as the input. So we can use that same hash key to pull the same thing out. So let's do the same again. Let's go and run it. And we're expecting it to fail because there's no method, which it does. So let's go and add that method in. And again, we'll just go and knock it off on my previously done experiment. Put it into the zone. And here we go. So if we run this now, red, green, no, oh, what's going on here? Syntax error. Is that because I need to do some validation? I'm not sure. Let's have a look. I think it's got to do with this one here. Validate put. True. Yes, it does. That's because we're actually checking, we're validating to make sure you are actually able to read, because in some applications you may not be able to read particular things under particular circumstances. So in this case, if we do the validation, again, we're just returning true here. You can now get the answer. You can pull your thing out of Holochain. Because as all the documentation says, Holochain is a self-validating data store. So next thing we need to do is build a UI, because now we've got our DNA working. Let's build a UI. So the generated stuff gives you your UI here, very useful, and a file called hc.js, which just has some very simple JavaScript. So what we're going to do is add two forms, one with a text box so you can enter something and store that in Holochain. The second one is going to be able to enter the hash key, which you can then retrieve the value. So again, we'll go back to my Martha Stewart previously made addition, and let's just grab all of this code and we'll have a look at it in a second. And I'm also going to grab the JavaScript as well. Now this file needs to be renamed to HoloWorld. Alright, so now we've got the HTML done and the JavaScript done. So what this is we have two forms. First one here allows you to put in the value and submit it into Holochain, and you'll see that it's going to be hooked up to a click event, and the same for the read one. So what will happen is when we click submit, put the value in, the value will then be, the hash will be returned and put into this hash box. So have a quick look at the JavaScript. So there's no frameworks here, this is just straight HTML and JavaScript. The first one, submit entry, add the click event, then calls HoloWorld entry create from our JavaScript file, gets the value out of the HoloWorld entry text box, and then asynchronously when it's finished, it will return the hash key into the hash box. Same for the second one, we add the click event, we read the hash value, go and read the HoloWorld entry read method, and then put the value back into entry content. So to run that, let's just do hcdev web. And now our app is running on port 4141. 4141. You see here we have two text boxes. So let's get up the DevTools just for fun. Have a look at network. Now when I submit this value, this entry will be saved into Holochain. We should get a hash key in that box. And it broke. 404. HoloWorld entry create is not defined. Okay, what have I done wrong? Ah, that's that thing again. Multiple right header calls. Okay, so we figured this out before. We need to look at our new. Just going to open up another project I was playing with. And we changed that call somehow. I can't remember quite what we did. Oh, okay, that's right. There's something to do with the way the JSON is passed. So let's change the method now to this, and this then needs to pass a JSON object. Should be something like that'll work. I'm going to get some awful errors now. Let's have a look. So refresh that. Close that. Yeah. What is going on here? Okay, it's not using any code for some reason. Okay, let's just go and blast any leftover any data that's left over. No. Back to the network. Refresh that. in this UI folder. Just everything's HoloWorld. Yes. It's actually in here. Demos HoloWorld. Project. Open. Second. Let's kill Adam. Open. It's the right file. Alright. Let's kill terminal. Go to the right spot. Demos HoloWorld. Yeah. Okay. Save there. Great. That is bizarre. Alright, so what we can do is just go and kill everything under Holochain Dev. Do that again. I don't know what's going on here. That is weird as. Okay, I don't know what's going on there, so let's go and change that to that. Turn into that. Reboot Dev. Should give us a new one. Refresh this page. HoloWorld 2. HoloWorld 2. Okay. I have no idea why HoloWorld got cached somewhere. Anyway, let's hit that button there. And you'll see that we've got the hash key back, which is exactly what we wanted. Beautiful. And that's what we put in there. And the response was the hash key as expected. So now if we try and read the hash key, it should give us the value back in this text box. Oh, it appears that the button is not hooked up. Okay, let's go and have a look at that. So, index HTML, add listener, read entry, unexpected token. Oh, okay. That's because we tried to pass this all through, so let's do try that. Right. Question is, how do I get a JSON file into there. Right, so what we can do, because we're running off 4141 all the time with HCD, we have to restart it each time so the new code gets copied over. Right. Sending works. Read. Internal server error, which is what we expected because it's not being passed as a JSON file yet. So what I might do is in here I'm going to send it the JSON stringer file. I'm going to make it into the JSON object it should be, which is hash one of them. Restart HCD web to the website, refresh, send the first one through, and retrieve it. Yes, look at that, perfect. All right. This is why developers need very hard foreheads so you can keep banging your head against the wall until you finally get it. Anyway, so here what we did, we sent the hash key through, and the response was the result, straight out of Holochain. So that is how you read and write into Holochain. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to do another one using Redux in a little while.